nightclub.
What one is that?
Oh, Spirit is Frankenstein.
All right, I got you. All right, let's see. Here we go. We're going live. What's up, everybody? DJ A-roc with 3 special DJs here tonight talking about life as a cruise ship DJ, life after the cruise ship. You know, what is life like after the cruise ship? But we got 3 other superstars in the building today, coming from where we're going to start with the only woman right here, superstar, who was my reason I got a job with Carnival right here.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Yes. So what am I saying? Where I'm from and
Yeah. You're live.
Feel everybody.
I'll be watching the feed all night. So
yeah, I started in 2009, straight out of college. I went to Monmouth University for a marketing degree, and I was not wanting a 9-to-5 office job, that's for sure. So I applied to Norwegian, Princess, and Carnival. Cool. I interviewed for all 3. Norwegian offered me a job, but like the rules were too much, too many restrictions. Carnival was very lenient, and so I got that job, and I did it for 6 years.
6
actually.
years.
And
so 2009 to 2015.
Yep. And then once I was pushing 30, I was like, okay, I think it's time to calm down a little bit.
30? What's 30? It's creativity. What's
exactly. They call me uncle on the ship. I started when I was 45. You know.
Oh. All right.
49 now.
So we're gonna jump over to creativity. Creativity. Tell us about you.
Yes, sir. DJ Creativity, been DJing since 1983. So I'm kind of old school. I didn't need the computer software that we have today, even though it makes it better for us. But I joined actually in Carnival 2015, got my first contract actually in January. So towards the end of the year, something happened with the first ship. But once I got in 2016, went to Miami to train for Spinniversity on the DJ Irie, which was an awesome program at the time to get us started right. But that crash course actually was a big test when I had to go on my first contract, which is Carnival Freedom. The club that you see in the background is the 70s nightclub. So immediately when I got on, I met DJ A-roc, and he had to give me a real world crash course training.
We met at the airport.
Yes, I had to actually replace someone, so that's how that happened. But even though thanks to A-roc, he actually, got me up to par really quickly on the ship. But before that, I even met, my wife and I cruise a lot. We cruise already. We had been cruising for at least almost 12 years at the time when I met Jay Blends. He was one of the senior DJs as well on Carnival. And he just basically told me what he did. I asked him what did he do to get on, and I went and did the same thing. And I just put in the notes that in my audition video for Carnival that Jay Blends, I gave shout out to him. And once they saw that video, they was like, okay, so how did he know Blends? From that point on, they just Alex called and asked me a couple of questions, and then he just offered me the job. So I came on almost immediately.
I didn't have the video. I didn't have to audition for a video. Yeah. And CDs back then. So the CDs would scratch or break, and I'd be like, what the heck? What's to do?
All right. So Monopoli, give us a rundown, because Creativity told me about you. So this is the first time I'm meeting Monopoli virtually. Had to go creep on his page, all right, I gotta find this info to drop in all of the social media stuff. So what's going on?
Yeah. So my name is DJ Monopoli. I started DJing back in about 2009. And I actually, in about 2011, I attended Scratch DJ Academy in New York City. So that was actually kind of the gateway to how I got into cruise ship DJing. So when I graduated the academy, Scratch DJ Academy also has an events side of their business. So they're heavily involved in, you know, retail and all those things going on in New York City with the big corporate companies. So I linked up with the event side. At that time, I was actually working a full-time job. So I was DJing on the side, kind of trying to build that business up so that I can leave my full-time job. And then by about 2015, so about 4.5 years or so into my full-time job, was when I got my DJ business to the point where I could, you know, support myself with just solely that income and not the job income. So I left that job, and that's what kind of opened up the door. So I made the call to Scratch, who was, at that time, they had been placing guest DJs on many of the Royal Caribbean ships. They were doing Disney at one point. They just started dabbling in Norwegian. They've never done Carnival, but I think that was pretty much, that was their primary lineup right there. So I made the call and I was like, listen, I'm available now. I wasn't full time anymore. You know, they wanted us to do 4 weeks at a time. That was the standard. So, you know, when I heard that, I was like, listen, I can leave 4 weeks. I don't have a family. I don't have, you know, anybody to take care of back at home. So I can afford to leave for 4 weeks. Let's do this. So they set me up on my first ship, which was Freedom of the Seas, Royal Caribbean Freedom of the Seas. All the ships that I've ever done have been out of Florida. So in 2015, that was my first experience on a cruise ship. And man, I'll tell you, it changed honestly a lot about my just perspective of life, not just DJing.
Right.
The people that I've met, that was the most, like honestly, the last 5 years, I've done more traveling than I had in my life up to that point. You know what I mean? So just like,
and you're getting paid for it. You're getting paid.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the fact that I had left my job, my DJing business was taking off. Now I'm traveling, I'm making money, I'm meeting all these people. Just that sense of freedom. I mean, honestly, it's been some of the best experiences of my life. So I was supposed to go on another one this year, but obviously it got canceled. It was supposed to be in May. I was supposed to do.
Yeah, we got canceled. I got canceled right before you. So
yeah, I was supposed to do Harmony of the Seas. So I mean,
yeah,
obviously if the opportunities open back up, I'll be there again. But
right, we know, you know, like all of us, a lot of us, you know, we looking for different opportunities. We all start on land, and somehow we wind up on the sea. Far as, you know, you talked about how you got started. So Eric, how did you actually come out of college and really get into this? Like, what was your process? Did you search for this? Did you know about it? Did somebody recommend it?
I kind of, well, you're gonna laugh actually, because I used to go on ships all the time for vacation with family. We would go once a year. So, and I love to dance, I love music. So I kind of just, you're gonna laugh, but I really just Googled fun entertainment jobs. And then that's where the ship came up. And I went to Monmouth University. It's 20 minutes from my house. I didn't live on campus. So I was never away from home. So it was like a big jump for me.
Okay.
So yeah, I went, picked up in November, like the week before my 23rd birthday. And I was out of New Orleans. And let me tell you, that was tough.
Right.
I know Zydeco, second line music. Oh my gosh. I cried my first 2 weeks.
Yeah, people don't understand that. Like, every port varies on the music and the demographics that you're going to potentially get in. You know, so a lot of people don't. They're like, oh well, you know, what's going on? How is this going to happen? You know, you just got to go with it. You know.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I had, luckily, because it was like my worst nightmare. Like, I was so scared of these people, because they would be like, in the beginning, they were saying, you don't know our music, you suck. And I'm like, what am I doing here? This is not for me. And then I started to learn the music and just certain R&B to play, and you know, the second line, and I was able to turn them around. And that's when I'm like, oh my God, this is my favorite port ever.
Now, did you have any DJing experience before? Did you see any clubs, any college parties?
Well, no, it was actually my first job at 17. I was a DJ. So I did a lot of weddings, private parties, but never like real nightclub. No.
Right. Yeah, the nightclub is a whole nother lifestyle that people don't realize, from a wedding to a college party to a cruise ship. So Monopoly, you know, you're in New York, right? New York, New Jersey area.
Yeah, Jersey. Most of my business is in the city. Yeah.
So what was one of the biggest transitions for you? You know, you got with Scratch Academy, but what was is Scratch Events, right? Scratch Events was the one that's organizing the cruise ship stuff.
Right, exactly.
What was one of the big transitions for you going from, you know, from Jersey to Florida? It's a different crowd.
Oh, 100%. I think because when you leave out of Florida, you're really getting a lot of people from not only all around the country that take the trip down to Florida to hop on the ships, but you're also getting international people.
Mhm.
So at least my first couple contracts, it was really just a feeling out process. Like every week I felt like I had to figure it out all over again, you know, because the demographic would be different. What worked last week wouldn't work this week, and that would get me frustrated. So, you know, I think two of the biggest things, one is just like, I started linking up with either the cruise director or the activities manager, and they would give me an idea of what the demographic was coming in each week. Because in some cases it would be crazy. Like I'll never forget, there was a week on Royal where we had like 45% Brazilian, which is nuts. And like my Brazilian library at that point, like my crate was small. So I literally scrambled, thank God, like that he updated me, and I scrambled to like get as much as possible to just try to better prepare myself for that week. Otherwise, I mean, it would have been a train wreck. It would have been horrible. But that, and then just honestly picking the brains of, I've had some of the best resident DJs, man, that I've gotten an opportunity to work with. So the way it works for Royal is like, we're just coming on as like the celebrity guest DJ, and the resident DJ is already there. They're doing the long contracts. You know, so they got the lay of the land. They know the equipment, they know the venues. So I've always just made a point to just basically become best friends with whoever the DJ is there, and just make sure like that relationship is strong and we pick each other's brain. I try to just give them as much value as possible. And then of course, you know, anything that I can gain from them to just better prepare myself and like, you know, kind of get through those, because you know, cruise guests can be very difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They can really get on you.
No.
Like I empathize with what Eric said. Like I've probably had some of the worst guests in my career, quite honestly, on a cruise ship. Just you know, like the nature of their request, how they say things. So you really gotta like learn. It's just a different animal. Like even dealing with, you know, customers and clients, nightclub guests in New York, they can be a little ruthless too. But honestly, it was worse on a cruise ship. And like having that resident there to just be like, yo, like, it's cool, man. Just do you. Like you're here to do you. Just shake, brush it off. You know what I mean?
What's the one we get? I paid for this cruise. You need to play my song. Yes, and the other
Play
three.
it now, because we get ready to leave.
I'm like, I'm the only venue open, so where are you gonna go?
Right. They're gonna get pizza. They're gonna get pizza.
Right. We're gonna go to the cafe. All right, cool.
All right, so creativity. We're gonna jump over to you. Old school DJing since before most of us was born.
Exactly. So
I'm just messing, man.
No, I brag about that part.
Hey, but seriously, tell us how you wound up on a cruise ship with all experience. How you wound up on the cruise ship. And P just joined in.
He's coming in. Okay, we don't see him yet.
So we'll let him connect. So go ahead. Experience how you wound up on the cruise ship.
Cool. Yeah. So what happened with me is pretty much what I said a little before. I met Jay Blends on one of the cruises. Actually, the DJs at the time when we would get on the cruise, they would never be on that level to where I would be like amazed. And then finally, out 2015, when I went on the Carnival Breeze, that's where I met Blends, and pretty much I think what helped us get have some type of relation, at least in my ear, hearing him, I was like, well, man, he sounds just like me. My wife would even say the same thing. That sounds just like the stuff you would do. And I was like, yes. I said, no, his mixes and his style sounds a little similar. So I just went ahead over to talk to him. I said, I just got to go over and at least introduce myself. I normally give props to DJs when I meet them, especially when they're doing a good job. To just let them know from DJ to DJ, I wanted to give you a little of that. So once he told me what he did to become a Carnival DJ, I just went and did the same thing he did. And as far as the background of knowing what to do, as far as the music to play and the crowd, or the different genres of the crowd, that was no brainer for me, because I was already playing for a diverse crowd all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But once I did when I did the audition video and sent it in to the Carnival Entertainment, it basically lined in line with what they were looking for. So once we got through that, my biggest test was when I actually got on my first ship, and I told you I had to go through the crash course with A-roc of getting settled in, even getting onboarded, getting boarded onto the ship and going through the process. Once we got that done, I was in the nightclub that night. A-roc did sail away, and then he did actually start out the nightclub with me for that week. But once he got off, I was like, okay, so now this is it. Going back to what Monopoli said, you have to know the demographics. If it was not for A-roc showing me, the voyage reports and what's going to be expected on the next couple of cruises ahead, I probably would have sank like a ship. I would have.
Don't say sink on the ship.
Hey, I know ships don't sink, but at that point, I would have sank. I think.
Well,
because
also, real quick, we were on the ship for months at a time. We didn't know the top stuff on the radio. So that was another.
That's what I was going to say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was
another issue.
The thing that I had to learn, even though I played all types of music, one thing that I didn't know about was the different genres of Latin music in Texas. Called Tex-Mex. You got to know banda, you got to know cumbia, you got to know nortenda. You can't just go down there playing reggaeton all night, or salsa, or merengue.
Off the ship.
Exactly. You may play a couple of things. So I had that first week that I was there, and even when A-roc left, I had literally sat in my cabin, and I was the last to be able to stay without a host DJ or a roommate. I had the room to myself. And so I would literally just study the crates and listen to some of the music that I didn't know. So I would even have some of the guests come up to me, "Oh, you playing? How you know that? Are you Mexican?" I mean, I've had Indian people come up say, "You know Bollywood?" So they were thinking. I was like, "No, I just this is what we do as DJs." So when you come on as a DJ, you just have to know. Can't just go on there expecting to play one thing that's you're familiar with in your area. I'm from North Carolina, so we get some of everything. But when I went to Texas, that really broke me in. So I had to really relearn to be an open format DJ.
Right.
All right. So look, we got P on here. This is the first time I've seen P without a green screen. This is like
wow.
If you watch P on Twitch,
he's in white too. Everything white.
Even last week, he had a green screen behind him. Like 2 weeks ago, he's sitting in front of green screen on.
If you want, I can go to the living room.
So what's up, P?
What's up, everybody?
What we talking about is, what was you doing before, and how did you wind up on the cruise ships? What was the transition? How did you wind up to where you are now? And tell us about a couple of companies you have worked for, over the past, and how long you've been doing it for.
Definitely. So kind of started dabbling in DJing in 2011. I was working at corporate, so I was doing side gigs, through the whole time. 2015, I decided to go all in. I quit my full-time corporate job. I was like, even if I have to Uber, Lyft to make, bills and ends meet, I'm going to go all in because I was miserable. So then, I don't know, some late night, I'm on YouTube. I find a video of Rob talking about DJ on a cruise ship, blah, 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 travel the world. I'm like, what? That's a thing? that's possible? Like, sign me up for that. So I was bugging him ever since I saw that video. I'm like, how do you do this? Blah, blah. So he told me, you know, you need a video, you need mixes online, and you need a press kit. I was like, okay, let's do this. So I did everything he told me to do. And then so I quit in October 2015. December, I was on the ship doing a 4-month contract on Celebrity Infinity, left out of Florida and went down to South America.
Wow.
So it was crazy. I'm like gone for 4 months, like going to the bottom of South America, didn't know how to pack, what to pack. I was freaking out. It was like last minute kind of deal, you know, man, it was incredible. But we're talking about music, right?
It's talking about just the transition, what you was doing, you know, that prepared you to go on the cruise ship. You know, we're looking at how'd you get there? You know, a lot of people want to know how did you get there? And it's like, how does this guy wind up on a cruise ship DJing? You know, a lot of people don't realize we're working, you know, we work 7 days a week, most of us, and we have, you know, 3,000 plus people that we got to entertain, you know, from age 6 months to 106 years old on most of the ships. You know, Monopoli working on Royal, probably up there 100 years. Yeah. So yeah, so tell us how you went from corporate America. You met up with Rob, which we're gonna get Rob on here. I'm working with Rob now. Rob is a busy guy, so we're trying to get Rob on with some of his traveling DJs so he can tell people more about what he do. But yeah, just what was one of the big transitions going from land to sea?
Definitely, it was just it was huge. I've never been on the ship before, so it was just throw myself out there. You know, I knew I loved to travel, and I was just trying to prepare, you know, music wise. I had no idea. I'm Brazilian, but also grew up in Texas, in Dallas. So I listened to like hip hop growing up. So my Spanish, like my Latin music game wasn't really all that. I just grabbed a bunch of, I just grabbed my friend's hard drive and dumped it on mine. Had no idea what I even had. But yeah, it was incredible experience as far as, you know, getting to meet people, travel. But yeah, the way I did it was I found a YouTube video, contacted, you know, the people involved, did what they, you know, instructed me to do, and just, you know, staying coachable and taking actions towards your goals and dreams is how I did it.
All right. Wait, so you're Brazilian. So are you going to stand up and do a little samba session or something?
A what?
I want to see a little samba.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's not, I play soccer, but I don't know about the samba. I moved way too early. I wasn't, I didn't get the samba crash course. I do heel toe kind of deal, but it's kind of close.
You know, Monopoli talked about one of his cruises was 45% Brazilian.
I heard that. I was like, right when I jump on, I was like, dang, I wish I had that cruise.
I wish I had your music library, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna play this.
So look, I got a couple questions. First question in the chat: how long have you been on the ship without going home? And another one is, can you choose your contracts, or are you expected to be full time? So Monopoli, we'll let you go first. How long have you been on the ship without going home at one time?
Yeah, I mean, my experience is obviously very different from all you guys. My max was 4 weeks at a time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I can't.
Must be nice.
I know. It's like it's nothing. It's not. All the resident DJs are always just like, yo, you're only here for 4 weeks. Like it goes by like that. What was the other question?
Can you pick and choose your contracts?
So yeah, for me, doing the guest DJ thing, we kind of usually at the beginning of a year or like let's say December, we kind of just send an email to the agency saying like we're still interested in doing ships. and then just kind of like a broad idea of our availability. So, you know, like I'm still open to doing ships out of Florida, or I'm only open to doing ships out of New York, New Jersey. I can only do ships these months. And then at that point, it's just basically up to them. So if they have availability and they can fill you in, it makes sense for both sides, then of course they will. That's why there's been cases where I've done 2 in a year. And then there's been cases where I've only done 1 in a year. And that's primarily because as the years have gone by, you know, I've had to start to like measure the cruise ships are a ton of fun. It's a great experience, but financially at this point, I make more on land than I do on the ship.
Exactly.
So for me, I now have to weigh, is the experience worth the fact that I'm going to make significantly less than if I just stay at home? So when I went from, like I said, doing about 2 a year to now 1 a year is pushing it. You know what I mean? I really have to convince myself, yo, this is worth it, just because it's a nice 4-week escape. I do think it grows me as a DJ. I do think it grows me as a person. So those are the things that kind of allow me to be okay with taking a little pay cut.
Right.
Paid vacation?
What was that?
Paid vacation?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Like I said, 4 weeks for us is, and we kind of get the best of both worlds of crew and guest.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, but it's nothing compared to what you guys had to do.
Sorry, were you 7 days a week, or did you have a day off being a fly-on?
It totally varied. Like, yo, I've had weeks where, you know, I'd have 2 days off completely. And then I've been on ships where like I've legit worked 50, 60 hours in a week. And I'm just like, yo, like, am I like, this is not what I signed up for. You know what I mean? Like where I couldn't even get off the ship.
Hours, that's nothing. That's nothing.
I know. Compared to I guess like the thing is, when we came on initially, so the program for the guest DJ program has really evolved over the years. So even when I signed on in 2015, the stories that I was told from some of the veteran guys that had been doing it since like 2005, even from then to when I started, it had changed entirely. Just from the type of events we were doing, how we were being presented to the guests, our relationship with the resident DJ, and kind of like what we did versus what they did. Over the years, it's really just kind of merged. And at this point, we almost do the same things. You know what I mean? It's almost just like whatever makes more sense for the actual ship and for the director and for the activities manager. They'll use us however they need to use us. So some weeks, that's like I said, like we would have a week where it'd be super light, and then the next week I'd be doing, you know, I'd be filling in for the resident DJ because they have private events to take care of, or they have some other things that they need to take care of. So it really did vary for me. But yeah, I mean, it was never anything close to what the resident DJs were doing. You know, there were times where I would step in just because, I mean, they were just like
Exhausted.
Blatantly overworked.
Yeah. When you stepped in, was it for an hour or 30 minutes here and 4 hours there? How was that?
It varied, but it was really just like sometimes the transition in between events for them was so tight that there were instances where these guys didn't even have an opportunity to go run to eat, let alone like take a quick power nap or something like that. So there were times where I'd have the whole afternoon off. I'd be like, yo, I'll set the gear up, I'll get it going, and then you just step in whenever you're resting. I got the whole night off. Like, what else am I gonna do?
Right.
You know what I
Been
mean?
there, done that, right? So,
yeah.
So we jump from 4 weeks. We're gonna work our way up to the long term. So P, what's the contract for you? What's the usual contract for you?
So it's really contract by contract. My shortest was on Disney. So 2 weeks, it really did feel like a paid vacation. Disney as a guest DJ, like Monopoli was saying, yeah, was incredible. I've also done 4 weeks on Princess. I think it was like a different situation. I think the DJ had something going on, so they needed somebody ASAP. So I just filled in until they could get another DJ over there. There was 4 weeks. My longest was 4 months on Celebrity, and also done 3 months on Prince. What was the?
Was it Crystal? Is it
Crystal, yes, Crystal Cruises. Yeah, it was 3 months.
Yeah. I talked to another DJ about Crystal Cruises.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get her on. I'm trying to get Dana on.
Oh yeah, Dana's amazing.
Yeah, and she said she picked her contracts off the courts.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Everybody nodding their head like, what ship?
That would be nice.
Where's the ship going to? Oh, that looked like a good contract. We're going to Puerto Rico every week. Oh, all right, we'll take it. All right. So Erica, starting off, out of college, first time, what was your first contract?
6 months. That was the longest.
You didn't get off the ship. You stayed on the ship 6 months, didn't go home. Explain a 6-month contract to us. A 6
You
month.
said it was no Wi-Fi back then?
I know, right? It was brutal.
Wow.
I almost gave up. But yeah, after that, once people started to know who I was and started to know people in the office, it would be like 3 to 4 month contracts. This is all before Spiniversity and stuff. And people always ask me, how come you got a good itinerary? And I'm like, I just asked for it. I'm like, if you don't ask, you're not gonna get, you might as well ask. So I'm like, hey, can I go to Alaska? Can I go to South America? And luckily I got every ship I wanted. Every ship. I'm not lying. So I don't know if it was like the secret, release that positive energy and, into the universe, but yeah, I asked and they gave it to me. So
your first 6 months, talk about the ups and downs of the first 6 months. 6 months a long time from home. So
yeah, that's a long time.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm going on a camp. Like, no, you're out in the middle of the ocean, and you're gonna see port maybe 4 times a week, but it's 6 months away from everybody. So tell us, give us some details.
Well, of course, we had to go through all the training and all that stuff. So that was just another, a whole separate entity. But that back then we were using the CDs. So my whole thing was like, I had to be organized. It wasn't like I got a book in alphabetical order by artist, by song. It was, you find the songs by just flipping through. It was horrible. There was no transition. It was like throw me to the wolves. But I'm like, you know what? I could do it. I'm going to do it. Like you said, paid vacation. That was in my head the whole time. This is, a dream come true for so many people. And I get to experience this. But back then I had to share a cabin. But as I got older and through the years, I was getting my own cabin. But I know back now you guys have to share a cabin again, right? Like, did they switch it?
Yep. No, we sharing cabins, but we usually share them with the host DJ, supposedly.
If the host DJ is the same sex.
My last contract, I lucked out. My roommate worked for Shore Excursions, so there's a lot of good shore excursions. Swim with dolphins, look at some whales. Yeah, that was the perks of that one.
Oh yeah. What was it like? We get 30% off or something.
But this was free because he was working in Shore Excursions.
Yeah, the plug.
Yeah.
Go look at my Instagram from January. It's like us out there looking for whales out in St. Lucia and speedboating. Like, you want to go on the catamaran?
Kissing dolphins.
Well, he randomly, like, he know I can get into like 3 o'clock in the morning. He got to get up at 7:30. He be like, hey, bro, you want to go get on the catamaran? Like, what?
I just got off at 3.
I just got to work. Yes, I want to go get it. Let me put some pants on. Is it free? That was always the question. Is it free? Yeah, let's go.
Well, I was on I was out of New Orleans, my first contract. So luckily the Saints won the Super Bowl. I was on for Mardi Gras. So I got to experience all of that, which was incredible, that whole different world out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
That's a positive. Mardi Gras and the Super Bowl.
Right? I know.
so creativity, I met him at the airport. I was someone got we don't know what happened. We don't know the story, but somebody wasn't there. So they basically flew him from, you was in what, North Carolina?
Yep.
They
From
flew
North
from
Carolina.
North Carolina, Texas, and called me like 2 days before. Hey, can you go train a guy in Texas on a Friday? I think I met him on a Sunday, and I'm just happy to sit there and I look over and I see this guy with all this DJ stuff on. I'm like, this got to be the guy going to the ship. And we wound up talking at the airport and all the way to the ship. And you know, he told me like, man, I'm a heavy cruiser and this is my dream job. You know, I'm saying like, man, you older than me. This is perfect. I feel good. So tell us how you know, your thing going on the ship, your longest contract, because you did, you know, some short ones, some long ones. But tell us about your first contract, man.
Oh, the first contract was 3 months. And actually that was, at that time, was the best spot. I mean, it's something about the cruises there, whether it was 4-day cruises. Well, let me take that back. 4-day cruises, they just want to party hard, and you know, but the ones that were like 5 to 7 day cruise, they'll tip you on the drop of a hat. You know, so the tip money was just like, it made me fall in love with it even more. But you know, that 3 months, it was kind of hard the first time. I'm married, so and plus, you know, I'm up in my age, so it's more like I had to get used to being away from my wife. She had to get used to being away from me. You know,
Yeah.
the whole time I was like, what if something goes on at the house, something breaks? You know, I'm not there to fix it, or you know, so it was just things like that. But once I got, as long as I was working and doing what, you know, of course we all love to do, you know, it was perfect. You know, get the DJ for, you know, thousands of people, um, you know, in the nightclub and during sail away on, you know, on the Lido. Your name is plastered on the walls and in the itinerary. You know, the guests treat you like you're Drake or somebody, you know, and you know, so you know, everywhere you go, they calling you out, you know, or just tipping you because they see you. But the longest one I did actually do was 4 months. I said, I'm gonna try. My last contract that I had, before, you know, I just got busy doing weddings at home, um, was on the Elation. That was a smaller ship out of Jacksonville. That 4 months kind of like broke me. I was like, I can't do more than 4 months. And at the time, Carnival only had you, you know, you come on for 3 months, you off 1 month, or do 6 months and you off 2 months. And I just told the other guys, I don't see how they do it. But and you know, then they came out with the swing list, but I haven't done a swing list yet, which is what A-roc, that's a couple of weeks to a month or something like that, fill in for someone.
That's basically what I've been doing. Basically, like I do like a 3 month in the winter, but then I pick up some stuff in the summer, in between, just, you know, fill-ins. People don't want to go or need to take a emergency break or vacation, or somebody get released from the company and they need somebody to go.
Yeah.
I've got calls on a Friday to be on a ship Saturday morning. And I basically got a bag just for Carnival to call. Like, oh, Carnival calling. Let me grab this bag and go. Because they're in the tourist. Hey, so we got a situation. Can you go get on the ship? When? Tomorrow. What? Yes, I can. Plane and always with Carnival, the plane ticket's in the email. You know, just check your email in an hour. The plane.
We already had it for you.
Yeah, they had it, but name already on it. Like, all right. So,
A-roc, what about your gigs on land? Like, do you got people to cover you when that happens, or how does that work?
For me, I've been lucky enough to keep a good group around me. So if I really do need to get stuff covered, I have covered. But I'll be honest, man, I put my weddings in front of my cruise ship gig, because these weddings I book out a year ahead, and people want me to be there. They don't want a replacement there, you know. So
yeah, that's my challenge.
Right. And
because I had to turn down cruise ships because I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna call the bride and groom, say, hey, I'm sending somebody else, you know.
I tell you, one of the hardest ones I turned down was to go to Italy for the Vista. Something came up and they needed somebody over there like ASAP, and I had weddings and I was calling, and man, it was so hard. Like I could have got 2 weeks in Italy, you know. It was like that paid vacation to go overseas. I missed 2 for Australia already. It hurts, man. You know, I looked up a plane ticket to Australia, $1,500. You know, Carnival, like, just check your email and the and the flight's there. So it's one of them things. But but you bring up a good thing. A lot of us doing gigs before, a lot of us doing gigs after. In between the cruise ships. What was it like when, how has the cruise ship helped your land gigs, or have your land gigs help your cruise ship? Do you see, like, for me, the cruise ship has helped me be a better DJ, and also has made my brand stronger, because when I get people say, can you do a 200 to 300 person wedding? I'm like, I just did a cruise ship with 4,600 people.
Yeah.
Check the IG, check the Facebook, go ahead and creep on all my pages. You can see that I'm rocking the crowd, especially in the club, on a 4-day, you may get 200 people and 300 people in the club every night, so, how has the cruise ship helped you out? This is the whole thing, like life after the cruise ship, What is, before, we talked about before, but what about after? What have you learned, like the music, or has it helped your brand?
I want to go first on that one. I think I could, with me, that's actually, I don't know why people look at it. They see you as a DJ and it's like, oh, okay. But when they hear that you DJ for Carnival, that's a good thing to have on your resume, because when they hear you DJ for Carnival, the whole expression, everything changes. Oh, like you found gold or something, Oh, you DJ for Carnival? So yes, that does help, especially when and I use that as one of my things when I speak with my wedding couples. When I'm booking my weddings, if they're still worried about am I going to get a DJ that's going to get the party going and get everybody up and running, I would do the same thing A-roc just said. I DJ on the ship with 3,000 and 4,000 passengers from all different parts of the world, and you got to be able to play and mix and blend the music in, from all across those genres. So, and be a crowd reader, be able to read the dance floor and the energy of the crowd. So, and once I go through that with them, a lot of times they're just right at ease. And I tell them the same thing. I share all of my past work with them, go on the Instagram. So that does really help. And it's actually, I would say it boosted my closing rating for booking any event. I would say by at least 30 to 40% for me. I mean, I already had gigs before I went, but I would say because of that, it's easier for me to book more weddings now, instead of just someone looking at me for price, and saying, hey, he's a $200 DJ. When they see that all the work that you do, it takes less of the, it takes less of the draft from them trying to negotiate with you for a lower price. They see your value when you say that you DJ for Carnival before.
It's that resume builder. That's what I call it.
The resume, yes.
So I'm gonna jump Monopoli, because I was creeping on his Instagram when you told me about him. So I saw you with the Knicks. So was that before or after the cruise ship? Give us some history. Has the Royal Caribbean helped you out with any of these current gigs, or vice versa?
I mean, I don't know if I could actually like quantify it and say like it's helped this amount, but I mean, it's kind of one of those things. It's just like, I just know that it has, because still to this day, no matter how much I build my resume with other things, such as the Knicks, like I've played at Madison Square Garden, and yet when I run into people, it's like, yo, when are you doing another cruise? That's the only thing. It's like people they're just, for whatever reason, the cruise ship life, following me on Instagram when I'm on the ship and just seeing everything that's happening, that to them is just so much more attractive than the majority of the other things that I do. So I think like Creativity said, it's just like, it almost builds credibility. You know what I mean? When you could say like, you've done this. So like I could say I play at these nightclubs. They're like, all right, cool. All right, well, I do X amount of weddings per year. Wow, cool. Hey, listen, I also DJ for Royal Caribbean. I've done the biggest ships in the world.
Word.
Then it kind of, they step back and they're like, wait, you got to tell me more about that. Like, that's what I want to know about. Like,
word.
All of a sudden they're listening. You know what I mean? So it builds credibility. Just so from a brand perspective, that has been you know, one of the things is it's obviously it's just boosted everything. You know what I mean? It just like makes the resume look better. It's just one of those talking points that you can always go back to. I don't know if that's what like has helped lead me to where I am today, but I think the same kind of route that I used to get into cruises, which is just like, you know, just building your network, always be talking to different people. I'm always, one of the biggest things that I tell like young DJs is you want everybody that you come in contact with to know you're a DJ. Like, make sure that you're always telling people your story, telling people like what you do, how you do it, so that the next time something pops up that it, you know, in regards to being a DJ or somebody needs a DJ, you come to mind, right? So you do that to 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, especially being on the cruise ship where you're coming in contact with 4,000, 5,000 people per week. You know, I'm trying to talk to as many people as possible. And then all of a sudden, that's what really grows your network. Then all of a sudden, all these different people are hitting you up. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into a gig per person, of course, you know what I mean? But the more people that think of you, the more it's going to boost your business. And I've used that pretty much just that same thing to get into sports. I mean, the Knicks has been a passion of mine since I was a kid, unfortunately, because obviously the Knicks put me through a lot of stress, but that's been one of my, like, when I quit my job, I'll never forget that I literally wrote down, I had like a, you know, kind of like a vision board. Mm-hmm. And I wrote down some of my biggest goals. Like, all right, like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be a full-time DJ. Like, these are the things that I really want to do. And two of them were DJ on a cruise ship and DJ at Madison Square Garden. And the cruise ship I made happen that same year, which was amazing. And then Madison Square Garden didn't happen until 5 years later. You know, I didn't get that until January 1st of this year.
So with that, did they look at the cruise ship as a resume? You know, say, hey, you know, what kind of experience do you have? You know, we see you out doing this. You think that helped you get the gig at Madison Square Gardens? You think that helped?
I think when they hear, again, it's like when you say you've done a nightclub, even if it's a large scale nightclub, I guess it just doesn't make people's, you know, ears perk up the same way it does when you say you DJ'd a massive cruise ship with a super diverse crowd, you know, thousands of people, rotates every week. You get another 4,000, 5,000 people, totally different crowd, got to adapt. I think that, so I actually, I also auditioned to be the stadium DJ for the New York Jets. And I ended up going through the entire interview process. It got down to me and a homie of mine that I'm so happy for him that he got it because he's very well deserving. And that was one of the things that in the interview, you could tell it kind of changed the conversation a little bit because they were like, you're going to DJ to 70,000 people. Like, that's kind of a big deal. Like, what's the closest thing? I know you're not going to say you've ever done DJed a stadium before, but what's the closest thing? And I literally couldn't, I was like, a cruise ship. I was like, I did Royal Caribbean, you know, Symphony of the Seas, Harmony of the Seas, 6,000 people per week for 4 weeks straight. I mean, that's as big as it gets. That's pretty damn big. It's not close to a stadium.
Yeah, not good. Yeah.
But it changed the conversation. You know what I mean? It did make them be like, all right, you know, if you can handle that level of pressure, you know what I mean? Then it just kind of, you know, it gave them a little more confidence in me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's funny that he said that someone would see him and say, hey, when you going back on the ship? Because I still get that all the time. And, you know, I mean, I don't know if one of my female DJs is on, she wants to actually DJ on for one of the cruise ships. I asked her to get on tonight, DJ Kia. And that's the first thing she asked me when I saw her. I said, hey, you know, and she said, hey, when you going back on the ship? So I get that pretty frequently.
Like, guys, we do other stuff besides the ship. You know that, right?
Hey, I told him I used to DJ on the radio, you know, Power 98 back at home back in the late 90s. I can tell them, hey, I used to DJ on the radio, and they were like, oh, okay. As soon as I mentioned something about cruise ship or Carnival, it's like you said, the face changes every time.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump over to Erica because I know P got a lot because he's been on like 3 different companies. You know, wow. So you know, I talked to Erica. I was blowing her Instagram up when I first applied for Carnival. They called me up. I interviewed at the DJ Expo. 5 years ago, it was 6 years ago, interviewed DJ Expo. They called me up, say, hey, we got this opportunity for you. You want to do it? I'm like, yeah. Now I just say, yeah, didn't know what I was getting into, didn't know what to prepare for. So I'm like looking online. I found Rob's videos. You know, Rob was probably on some world cruise, couldn't get nothing back from him. So I just started hitting Erica up. The next day I'm like texting next. So I start with Carnival.
What, guys messaging me? What's this all about?
I start Carnival, Erica leaves Carnival, and then probably a year or two later, you hit me up about doing mobile gigs, because now you were adjusting back to the mobile gigs from
yeah, exactly. Because
so
that wasn't
how was that transition coming from the ship for 5 years and then getting into the mobile gigs, and have that working on the ship helped you out with your mobile gigs?
Yeah. Well, see, that was an adjustment because I went from mobile DJ at 17 years old to the ship life for 6 years, and then going back to we lost somebody, and then going back to the mobile stuff. It was a transition for sure, because the songs that worked on ships did not work on land, and you're like, how come this didn't work? But it was it was a process. But I have a full-time job now. I'm in sales. I sell medical supplies. What a perfect job during this quarantine. But I am still DJing on, the weekends when I have gigs, and, it's slowed down a little now, but it's going to pick back up. But I can't, it's my passion. I can't give it up,
Oh, yeah.
So has the cruise ship job helped you out with your job currently, like far as interaction, far as resume building? How has that 6 years prior to, from then to now, how has that transition been?
Yeah, as soon as, like everyone said, as soon as you mention a cruise ship, they think, okay, well, you're full of personality then, you've met all these people. And so I always use that as, I can get along with anybody. And that's helped with, the sales jobs. And it's always a conversation. And then that leads to, have you been on a ship? Oh, what ship have you been on? And I mean, it's, it always works every time. But yeah, of course it's helped. I think it will help anybody, that life is just, it's a different life, but it's,
ship life. That's it. Hashtag ship life. What is it? It's ship life. Leave it. Don't ask no questions. Ship life. That's it. We say that for another conversation. So,
yeah.
P, you've worked for 3 different companies. And I mean, you seem to have a huge resume. So, what's some of the things that has helped you off the ship? From the ship life. Bouncing between all these different companies. Mobile. Even the Twitch. I see the professionalism on your Twitch account. I see the time you put into it.
Yes, sir. Actually, I think it's 4. Not trying to correct you. I think it was Celebrity, Crystal, Disney, and Princess.
There we go. I always forget about Crystal.
Yeah, I know that was a unique one for sure. It's not very. I didn't even know about the company beforehand, but it's very niche for sure. You gotta have your 50s and 60s on point.
Oh, so I probably would fit right in there, huh?
But yeah, I mean, my first contract, I DJ, but it wasn't like every day, it was like, I didn't even practice every day, like I just, I was okay. But my 4-month contract was like a DJ crash course. I've never DJ 7 days a week for 5, 6 hours at a time, like my blending skills, mixing skills after that contract was, on point. Yeah. And definitely, the diversity of music knowledge, dealing with the crowds, it was the best thing that I could have, like quitting my full-time job to pursuing full-time DJing, and then got a 4 months, like hands-on crash course 7 days a week. Nothing better could have, like definitely blessed and just so grateful for the opportunity. Because yeah, you get all kinds of people. And now, like, I am confident that any wedding I go to, I'll be able to read the crowd and figure out what could work and try different things, because I've had so many different types of crowds, types of age groups, Australians partying it up, Europeans, just all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely been huge. And also, yeah, nowadays, when you mention a cruise ship, it's a great conversation starter, like everybody else mentioned, it's like, yeah. And then there's like Disney nerds, like when you say you DJ on a Disney ship, they're like, what? And they're like, sold, done, like you're doing my wedding, So yeah, it's just been incredible. Not only, professional opportunity, but also like lifetime experiences, like I'm sure you guys have experiences that, you've never would have thought of
right
before this opportunity. So it's really priceless. It's like, Monopoly was saying, like, yeah, you're getting a pay cut and, you're getting flights, you're getting food, you're getting, opportunity to go on excursions and all this other stuff. Like, I probably would have never, swam with dolphins and stingrays on the same day or ever in a lifetime, So
Monopoly.
And
So
now-
have you ever swum with dolphins in all your contracts?
I have.
I think that's
I've done all the excursions. I mean, you got to.
Yeah. If you don't take advantage of that, you're slacking.
It's
right,
funny though, because you go from, like, I remember my first contract or two, I got off at every port. I had to do every excursion. And then obviously you come to learn like where to actually get off, like where is it worthwhile, what excursions are worth the money. And then I start telling guests.
right.
Guests are coming on, they're like, oh, you're not getting off here? I'm like, nah.
Now,
Good luck.
I've been here 8 times already. I've been here, like people always laugh, like, so man, you getting off tomorrow? Like, what we gonna be at tomorrow? Like, I'm like, I don't even know where we're going. I get up. If I get up, I get up. If not, I'm just gonna sit on Lido and look off the side of the ship. It's like you go to somebody, like I was on a Texas ship and we was in Cozumel every Friday for 3 months straight. So every Friday I was in Cozumel. People like, you getting off there? Like, man.
Been there, done that.
I'm just gonna hang out, we'd be in Jamaica, every week. Man, you getting off Jamaica? Nah. The guests like, you getting off? Like, I was here last week. I'm just gonna hang out. I'm getting
It's nice just hanging out on the quiet ship though.
Right. That's it.
I'll take that any day.
But and people don't get that. The most of the ships I worked on was the Dream class ships. With 4,300 guests, we had like 4,600 for New Year's and Christmas. But you're right. You get those quiet ships. Our New Year's was so crazy that people didn't get off the next day in San Juan. Like we was in San Juan, like it was a port day, and it was like we got a port day for New Year's Day. It was like how many people actually gonna get off the ship on New Year's Day? I mean, the ship was so busy at port because people was getting up probably like at 12 o'clock, like, oh, no, I'm staying. I ain't getting off. So, speaking of the ships, Monopoly, what's some of the ships and what was like, how many people are on board?
Well, so I've done, let's see. I've done Freedom of the Seas, which is one of, I'd probably say like middle of the road class ships for Royal. I want to say, I don't know, somewhere probably around like 3,000 guests. And then I want to say my second contract was Oasis of the Seas. And the Oasis class for Royal Caribbean is the largest class. So that one,
like 6,000, isn't it?
Yeah. And I want to say at that particular time, like this was maybe 2016, that was one of the biggest in the world. So that one to me, just going from Freedom, and it's interesting because the experience on Freedom was very different than when I got onto that bigger ship. Like the bigger ship it had the wow factor, right? Like it was just
Massive.
Yeah, like everything was newer. Everything was so like extravagant. The venues were larger. It's cool because you're playing to so many more people, but it lost that intimacy.
Mhm.
You know, like that on Freedom of the Seas, it was smaller. The venue was different, so it just like I was able to make a connection with the guests in a different way, and of course with the crew as well, because you just see each other more often.
Right.
Going on the bigger ship, you're just like, you know, you'd be lucky if you pass the same people twice. So I went from that to then Harmony of the Seas came out, which again was the newest and biggest at the time. And that was really the ship that I probably had the best time on. I just honestly got lucky with just like, I just met some dope ass people, and you know, that's where I really kind of like tried to break out of my shell a little bit, take the experiences that I had in the past and just like really try to elevate my game. I feel like the first 2 contracts I kind of coasted because I was absorbing, you know what I mean? There was just so much going on and it was so new to me that I kind of had to like, you know, take a step back and just like, I did the best job I could, but I feel like I didn't like, I wasn't entirely myself yet because I wasn't comfortable yet. And that was the first time that I really felt like, I was like, listen, like I'm going to take everything I've learned. I'm going to go be as confident as possible. And that's, I think like one of the biggest things that I gained was my mic presence. Like that was something where I felt like I really only used at weddings, because I still do weddings where I kind of do everything. I'll have to host and I'll have to DJ. But in the New York City clubs, like, or at least the ones that I do, it's not a big thing. These are venues that don't really prefer that kind of mic presence. Like they want the music to speak. They don't want DJs yelling over the music. But I noticed in my first 2 contracts that the DJs that spoke on the mic, they were able to kind of like just get the crowd more involved. Like the level of engagement was just far higher. So that was really, that 3rd contract on Harmony was the one where I was like, I'm gonna embrace this. I'm gonna get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's when I really took that on. And then after that, I just bounced around Harmony and Symphony of the Seas.
With Royal, did Royal have cruise directors like Carnival? Did they have like that? The cruise directors like the hype man, you know?
Yeah, they do. It's so you have the cruise director and then you have the activities managers. So they kind of both play that role. The cruise director is the one that is really like the face of everything, but the activities manager is really the one behind actually like putting together what's going on that day. So they're for us, they're our point of contact. But the cruise directors, I mean, I've taken one Carnival cruise as a guest, and it's crazy because I still remember the dude's name to this day. This dude's name was Malcolm.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like
freedom,
very animated.
Freedom,
yeah. But you know what? He did such a fantastic job. Like this was before I had ever DJ'd on a cruise, so like I didn't really know like what it was all about. But I just felt like he did such a good job of just like, I don't know, just like his whole presence, like his energy, everything was just so on point that I think when I started working on Royal, that's what I was expecting. And quite honestly, like I had been let down almost every single time. Like every director that I've worked with, I just felt like they just didn't have that charisma, that energy that you should have when you take on that role.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I even worked with one cruise director that thought he was a DJ, and he legit stepped in and I swear on my life, asked the resident DJ and myself to split sets. My man was supposed to be off for the night. Like he's supposed to just introduce the event, do his little job, shake hands, kiss babies and leave. And he would be like, yo, so listen, this is what I'm thinking. Monopoli, you open up, then you come on, and then I'll come on at prime time. And I'm like, what is this?
And then the crowd leaves.
Like the thing is, like he wasn't even like terrible. Like it was just like the
stardom, you know, with
the lack of understanding of your role, you know what I mean? So yeah, unfortunately, like while we had cruise directors, of course, like I just feel like the ones that I've worked with, and maybe it's just, you know, maybe I've had some bad luck, they just lacked like what I saw in Malcolm or like some of these other dudes that when I see on Instagram and Facebook.
Well, I can tell you now, if you think Malcolm was the bomb, if you had gone on another cruise, look for Dr. E or Matt.
Oh.
I'm bringing Everson. So Everson, Everson was supposed to be on today, but I put you guys in front of Everson. But Everson is going to be on, so we got Dr. E coming on. If you don't know who Dr. E is, Monopoly, go find him on Instagram.
Yeah, he'll learn today.
Priceless. All right, so I'm gonna jump over to P, Positive P, who worked on Disney. Tell us about, working on Disney, the club. Did y'all have cruise directors? What was your day-to-day on Disney versus Crystal? Because it's two different demos from Crystal to Disney.
Complete opposite for sure.
Right.
So Disney was awesome because, you got, the family. So I would do a family party with Pluto and, Daisy and Donald and the whole nine, little kids here and there. Of course, like I learned, clean music beyond just the label clean music. Cause I was playing a J-Lo song. It was clean, but it was talking about sexual things, and the entertainment director was like, and I was like, oh, I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh wow, like I gotta get like Disney clean. So that was like a whole different ball game, getting clean music.
It need to be Disney clean. That's gonna be the new edit for promo only. Can I get clean with that edit, please?
There's clean and then there's Disney clean. I found that out real quick, so I had to like comb through my whole playlists and whatnot. But the real cool thing was, like, after 9 o'clock, the back of the ship was adult only. So then the club was like parents that are my age, and and they wanted to hear the 90s, the hip hop, the explicit version. So we were jamming the Tupac, like Biggie. It was a blast. I had a blast in the club.
After 9 o'clock.
After 9, yeah.
When you speaking of the music, P, did you bring your own music on, or is that the music that they provide for you?
Yeah, every contract I've brought my own music. I know it's different with you guys, but definitely I had my own music. But also Randy, the hookup with Disney, sent me a bunch of Disney songs that his DJs played. So it's also like, every time I go and there's a DJ on a ship, we also try to trade music. So it's been awesome as far as that goes, networking with other DJs, getting, sharing music. It's been awesome. I'm
gonna jump back to Monopoly real quick. So with us at Carnival, we are provided the music. Electra is super old school. She had the CD book, probably all promo only. And then when I got there, we were rolling in Serato. So all the computers basically had all the same music throughout the fleet. So our boss, Shoreside, was basically programming. When I always say, I was like, you program the largest dance club in the world. I say, you got 26 DJs out here with 50 laptops and 50 different pieces of equipment.
And we weren't allowed to bring our own USB, but guess who did?
Right. So Monopoly, did you have to bring your own music? Did you have to play clean music? Did you have to bring your own gear? Because for us, the club was already set up. We had, I had the SX and the SR when I got on board. I think they used to use the Newmark. All the clubs, most of them had the 62 and the CDJ 900. So we didn't have to bring nothing but some underwear and some swimming trunks.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So no, we like, even starting at the very first contract that I did back in like 2015, we were allowed to bring our own laptops, our own music collection. We were obviously given some guidelines as far as what was acceptable and what wasn't. But it pretty much, like, they trusted us in that they were like, all right, everything has to be clean, but depending on the event and the venue, that's when you can kind of either push the boundary or you may have to pull back a little bit. You know, like you may have a song that's suggestive. It's clean, but it's suggestive. Depending on if you're playing on the promenade where there's children and families walking through, that's probably not the best time to be playing something like that. But in the nightclub, it's still clean, so that's totally fine. So they gave us that freedom to just kind of you know, use our own best judgment to play to the crowd. I did bring, I'm trying to remember. So initially, the biggest thing, like when I first signed on, and this died very quickly, was that the resident DJ had at that time like a standard CDJ with a, you know, like a Pioneer, I don't know, like a DDJ 800 or something like that, or an 850, and a Serato box. This was even before I think like the first controllers were rolled out on these ships, but they did have turntables back then. So that was really the differentiator right there, was that the scratch DJs would come on and we would rock on the turntables. And that was kind of like, again, it was like part of like the way that they marketed us differently at that particular time. That was part of that. It was like we were often on stage, whatever venue we were doing, and it was like, look at what these guys are doing. Like he's on turntables. Like it was almost like, yo, this is like, there was almost times where people come in, it was like they were expecting a show because of the way it was dressed up. I'm up there, the turntables are showing, and like people would be just like standing there, just like waiting for me to do something spectacular. And I'm like, nah, it's still a dance party, but like you could see me working.
Right.
And then, so at that time I brought like I think I brought my Rain 57 at that time. And then over the years, I just continued to bring my Rain 62. But the turntables by my third contract were gone off every ship for a multitude of reasons. Everybody had a different excuse as to why they disappeared.
Disappeared. Where did they go? Who took these turntables? That's like, the question.
I heard, you know, they were too heavy for the lounge checks to like schlep around the ship from venue to venue.
I can see that.
They got broken over time. I heard, of course, from like the crew on board that the scratch DJs were like just abusing the equipment, drinks, and this and that. And then, quite honestly, just like from Scratch's side, I think they just didn't see the value in it anymore. They just didn't see that was like that was, in my opinion, that was part of the brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was part of like why I was hired, was that like when I come on, like that's what's going to differentiate myself from the resident DJ. And once they eliminated that, to me, it was just like, yo, we're both on controllers. Like, this is real exciting. Like,
Yeah.
and that's just what it became. But as far as music, like everything was clean. I did continue to bring a mixer, even like, you know, later on in these, like my 5th and 6th contract, I would bring the Rain mixer so that I could pair it with whatever CDJs they had. And that was also something that was new to me too, is I had always used turntables. And quite honestly, like I would go into some of these New York City clubs where they'd have CDJs and I'd feel like, I'm like, yo, this is so foreign to me. Like, this is not comfortable at all, because I'm just used to, you know, I'm just used to records and vinyl. So like, it's just totally different feel, but it was good because it stretched me out of my comfort zone. And I had to learn how to rock CDJs and how to like, not have to just completely like forget my style of DJing because I'm on these things. And then of course, now it's just almost entirely controllers. There's usually like on some of the bigger ships, you'll have the main CDJ set up in the nightclub, and then everywhere else that you DJ, poolside, promenade, wherever, it'll just be a controller. And even that, like, I think we started with the SZ, and then somehow we ended up like on like the SX3 or something. Like it just got smaller and smaller and smaller.
It's smaller every kind. I mean, for us, we had to move our gear to all the locations. So it was you know, me trying, like, I had an SZ when it first came out. I'm an audiophile, man. I got so much gear, and I had 2 CDJs sitting behind me with my 62, and I take my RX2 out more than I take my CDJs out, just because it's a smaller case. And then when I fly, I take the SR. So I mean, on the ship, we had the SR. So moving the SR from deck 5 to 10 on a daily was, you know,
easy.
It was a lot of work, but you know, it was better than me lugging 2 CDJs in a mixer.
Of course, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it was
Electra,
a lot of work going through the navigating through the little small areas to me.
Yeah. Well,
You know, the
the small
SSR.
areas or the people, the small or
Yeah.
the people.
Nah, we
Going
were
on a-
fortunate we had the lounge techs doing that for us. Like I always like would be friendly with them and just like kind of encourage them to just leave the gear. Like, you know, you can drop it at the venue. I'm gonna get there early. I'm gonna set it up. But I mean, their job was literally to move it from venue to venue, set everything up. And some of these guys, they would literally sit back and just like, they'd be like, oh yeah. Nah, I you know what? I like the turntables turn this way. And I'm like, yo, do it yourself, man. Like,
Exactly.
you do this at home, but you all of a sudden you come here, you're a celebrity, you got a big head, you can't even set up your own gear.
Right. So Electra, from the time when you started, you know, you hear something about controllers. What was some of the gear that you used on board?
Oh my God. Well, when I first started, I don't even remember. To be honest, I don't remember. I just know it was using CDs, but then a couple of years went by and we at least got the CDJs, so that was okay. But the lugging of the equipment onto tender ports, all that stuff, that was a pain in the ass.
Hold up. I saw P just jerk up and said, all right, so explain to people non-Carnival what is a tender port and what's involved with you DJing. Like a lot of my friends see, you know, every DJ has to have that picture from Half Moon Cay. You gotta have a picture in front of the pirate ship.
The best would be the night before, you'd be up till 3 a.m. and then you'd have to be on that first tender at 8 a.m. the next day. So to get on that little boat that's gonna take you to the island, rain or shine, and you have to lug the equipment through gravel, through everything. And as a girl, I'm gonna pull the girl card, but it was tough for me. It was. But I mean, then you think, okay, you're on a beach playing music. But yeah, the tender ports were brutal. I hated it.
What equipment did you have to lug? Speakers and all?
No, I didn't have to lug speakers. The techs did that, but I had to lug the mixer, the table. What else?
On a trolley. Now it's on a. Now we have to take the trolley.
Yeah,
the trolley went to a boat, so people don't understand the tender boat, the smaller boat from the big ship, and everything she's talking about had to be on a trolley that you see the luggage being transported through.
But you're with the food, the alcohol, everybody's tightly squeezed in trying to get on this first tender. And you're like, still like, oh my gosh, the night before was crazy. Like, we're 8 a.m. ready to go, you know? And that was a long day. That was like, what, till 4 maybe?
Yeah. You on the first one and probably the second from last going back to the ship.
Yeah.
Is that y'all's private island or what? I'm kind of lost still.
Yeah.
Half Moon Cay.
Half Moon Cay, Royal, they have their own island too, right? Monopoly.
Royal have something like Labadee.
They have 2 now, yeah, Labadee and what's the other one now?
It's like
they just completely renovated it.
With the amusement park, almost like it's
it's got like a water park. It's got a hot air balloon. The name will come to me, but yeah, they just redid that one. It's actually it's pretty dope. Like they have, I mean, there's enough pools. You don't even know you're on an island anymore. You feel like you're at a resort because there's more pools than there is ocean surrounding you. Like it's nuts.
Right.
It's Coco Cay is Royal's Island.
Yeah, Coco Cay.
Coco Cay.
Yeah, Disney has Castaway Cay, I think.
Everybody got their private island.
Yeah.
But it was one of them things that we'd close the club, then we had to go over to the island. I actually enjoyed the island. It was I just like the fact that I was DJing in front of a pirate ship. Photos like photos is like no other, like you sitting there and you had cell service. So you sitting like, for me, I'm on a ship in December and it's snowing in Ohio and it's 5 degrees. I'm like, oh, I'm getting sunburnt in front of this pirate ship and I'm sweating. Oh, this job is so terrible. I can't believe it. Oh, wait, there's the ship out there. Oh.
Right.
It was one of the good perks of the job, that a lot of people were like, oh man, how was I'm like, dude, I'm sitting on the beach right now.
I might do a contract with Carnival just for that picture.
The picture's working. The picture. I'm gonna find one. I probably got 20 of them on my Instagram. I'm gonna send you one of them of me.
I love the Disney Island, man. It was incredible. They had a adult only beach, so it was super peaceful.
Wow.
It was awesome.
I'm gonna look it up. I don't even know what it looks like, but I'm about to check it out. Disney Island, Disney Private Island.
I think it's Castaway Cay.
So Disney and Royal, you guys didn't DJ on the private island?
The regular DJ DJ'd on the Disney Island.
Okay.
I had a day off, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. All right, so look, so we're gonna segue. We're gonna get off here in a little bit. You know, like I said, time go by fast. All right.
Yeah.
Day off. What's a good day off for Carnival? We really didn't. We got a half a day off. We may have a half a day, and we worked that night. You know, what was a day off? And what was your favorite thing to do on a day off? Be a port, be on a ship, go play basketball. A lot of people don't realize the amenities we have on board. There's no point in getting off. I mean, you sitting on the ship like, I'm just gonna play some basketball. I may just go watch a movie. I may just sit here and just look off to the side of the ship. So creativity, you know, you are a avid cruiser, even when you're not working. You know, give us a day off versus you on a cruise. You know,
now a day off for me, really, I would sleep as much as I can and to get up and work out, and just try to eat now. And you know, of course, I would call my wife and talk with her, catch up on things. So I mean, that probably would be pretty square for everyone else, but you know, that was a good day of enjoyment for me.
All right, look, TeCoy's jumping in. All right,
taking a grand entrance.
Yeah,
real, right?
Yeah, I think you're coming in. There you go, zooming in.
All right.
Yeah. Bye.
So Erica, what's a good day off for you when you worked, and what was one of your favorite things to do?
I'm just watching this laser show happen.
Intro.
I'm like sitting in my kitchen right now. You guys all have these cool backgrounds. Day off for me, totally be at the beach. That's for sure. Yeah, definitely on the island. St. Martin, St. John. Oh, those were the best.
Favorite beach. What's the favorite beach?
St. John.
St. John? I've never been to St. John before.
Conch Bay. Definitely.
Right. Put that on the list, everybody.
Erica
has suggested the favorite beach. All right, P. What was a day off for you, you know, and what was something you like to do?
Yeah, so on Disney, it was a 2-week contract. The last Friday of the second week, I actually got the day off completely. So I would just go and veg out on the beach. They had like a yoga class in the morning on the beach, and then I would just chill on the hammock. And then they had the food. That's why I love those private islands. They had the food there. I didn't have to spend any money, because when you like left port, you know, you had to spend your own money, but not on the private islands. Also on Crystal, they had amazing overnights, and those were just incredible. So I've had an overnight in Stockholm, Sweden, and Amsterdam. Those were definitely a night to remember.
Did you just say Sweden? I saw Erica's face like.
No, I was like just shocked that you had overnights there. I was more about Amsterdam. I wanted to hear that story.
Definitely. Stockholm, you know, it was like their summer. So I left the club around 5 a.m. and it was daylight. I was tripping out. I was like, oh, what time is it? It was crazy. I don't know if you guys ever been in the northern part of the world. Whenever it's a summer for them, it's like daylight is all, yeah. It's kind of like when you hear Alaska, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember DJing in the nightclb in Alaska at 9 p.m. and it was daylight. It was so strange to me.
Yeah.
You know, you ever think in your wildest dreams, you'd be like, yeah, so I was just DJing in a nightclub in Alaska, you know, it's like 9 o'clock, you know, who can say that, right? Like, oh yeah, so I got stuck in Stockholm, on this job DJing, and you know, it's 5 a.m. Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was
I
just
know.
DJing, I was just DJing in this club, I got done at 5 a.m. and there was still sunlight. Just like one of them things like, oh yeah, really? Is that what you're doing? So Monopoly,
Yeah.
what was one of your favorite times on the ship? Best port, best time, day off, all the above.
I mean, a typical day off was pretty much just, I would definitely sleep in, catch up on rest. I tried to get off the ship as much as possible, again, depending on the port. But if it was a port that I enjoyed, I always tried to kind of coordinate with some of the crew members that I was cool with and just figure out where everybody was going to go for the day. And then meet up and get off the ship. Like a lot of the ports, I enjoyed Cozumel just because there were those specific places where like only crew would congregate. You know what I mean? Like everybody would just coordinate and be like, yo, we're going to go to this spot. And then it was just so refreshing to not have to run into guests. Like every now and then when you run into a guest at a port, like it was cool. Like people would dap you up and, they were like, yo, I had so much fun last night. But there are times where you're just like, you want to get away from it. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to be able to connect with crew off the ship. And, of course, I'd work out. And then if I had off nights, as much as I'd be tempted to just like chill in my cabin and just relax and not do anything, I would almost always go to the club and just support the resident DJ. There were nights, bro, that I hopped on the microphone, just because once when you're passionate about it, it's hard to be around it and not it's my off night and I'm just chilling, but I'm like, damn, now I feel like DJ. Now I want to hop on the set. But it was dope too, because like I said, I've been fortunate enough to work with some really, really cool and talented resident DJs. So I enjoyed those off nights because I could just sit back and kind of take it in. And it's always good to kind of hear their interpretation of the same crowd that you've been playing to. Let me hear your take on it, how you're going to play to them. So that was dope. And I think obviously I've done a lot of the excursions, but the one that comes to mind is I got off in Cozumel with, and my current girlfriend, I actually met on the ship. So the girl that I'm with now, we met on my third contract. And I don't know if it was that contract or the contract after that.
Crew or guest?
Crew.
Okay.
Let's not dig too much into that.
Yeah, all right.
No, I mean, we met
Next
2 or 3 contracts in.
All about this one.
We got lucky that we met on the first contract and then we stayed in touch. And I just honestly, we got lucky that she was still on board the same ship when I got offered a second contract to go back to that same ship. So that was really our opportunity to reconnect. And then that's when the things got more serious when we decided to do the whole long distance thing. But there was one conversation, and quite honestly, she was the one who got me into traveling too. She was the avid traveler, and I was the one who this cruise ship experience was the tip, that was the epitome for me. And she was the one who got me traveling, and we went to Europe and all these other places. But we were having a conversation one day where I was like, yo, I've always wanted to go skydiving. And so did she. So we just happened to be in Cozumel one day, and she's like, I heard you can go skydiving in Playa del Carmen. So you take the
Let's put that on the list.
Yeah, you take the ferry from Cozumel over to Playa del Carmen. It's usually a longer port day, so you usually have you have a nice chunk of time that you could take that hour ferry ride. And then we actually went skydiving in Playa del Carmen. So that experience that was my first experience skydiving, but to be able to jump out of a plane over that gorgeous water, that's something that'll stick with me for the rest of my life. I've always wanted to do it. And I'm like, yo, I'm not going to do it in Jersey, over some open field, or go to Pennsylvania and jump over some green field. That's just whack. If you're going to do it big. So to do it there, that memory sticks with me.
I hope you took your GoPro.
They did everything. They wouldn't allow you to take your own GoPro.
They did.
So they actually, of course, that you got to pay for all that, but they the guy there, he has the one on his wrist, so he films everything. So I got the video, I got the pictures.
Oh,
Yeah, so no, it was super cool experience, and they did a fantastic job. Like sometimes I guess you know, you're not really sure about like the legitimacy of some of these places, and like yo, they were so professional. The guy that I got paired with, he was like, yo, like literally I do this like 20 times a day, 5-6 days a week, and I've been working here for 10 years.
Wow.
So I was like, all right.
wow.
I'll roll the dice with you. That sounds like pretty good odds.
You know, my biggest thing is like, you know, I had to make myself take these excursions, you know, like I just like just to go around. Believe it or not, I don't really like going to the beach. I just avoid the sun, don't like sand in between my toes. Like I just like to walk around and explore. You know, it ain't no Uber in the island, so I find like this random taxi driver like, hey man, I got $50. What can this 50 get me around today? Most of them, especially if it's like 1 or 2 ships in the port, $50 get you a long way. If it's like 6 or 7 ships in the port, $50 ain't getting nothing. Yep. You know. But you know, I got invited to go on a excursion. You know, of course, so excursion had the stuff out. You know, crew, you know, go take this, need to fill it up. So I'm not a good swimmer yet. I'm not even a half good swimmer, you know. And it's like, hey, you want to go snorkeling? Like, yeah, whatever, let's go. You know, it's free, right? Free.
$3.99.
In Cozumel. So I get there and they're like, oh yeah, so everybody drinking tequila. I don't drink, but everybody drinking tequila. I'm like, well, you know, I don't know about people snorkeling, drinking tequila, you know, but all right. So long story short, we get off, I jump in the water and I got some fins on, never swim with fins. Start getting sucked into the water. I'm like going down, my hands are waving and flapping in the air. I'm freaking blowing on the life jacket like I'm just going nuts. And all the while, all these drunk people are just swimming away. And I'm the only one not drunk and I'm sitting there going down. So the one guy, the tour guide, jumps in and pulls me, like he throws me a life jacket, pulls me in. He's like, man, I thought are you drunk? I said, I didn't drink nothing but water the whole time. I'm like, I'm done with snorkeling. Like, I was like, I'm just going to sit on the boat for the rest of the day. So I spent about 2 hours on the Cozumel tour on the boat watching everybody snorkel. That was my adventure. That was the first and only in the water for me. But look who's here, Mr. Graphics himself, TeCoy. What's up, man? What's up?
What's up?
Busy man. Look, he joins in. I don't know what he's in Ohio, and so where you been at all night, man? What's up?
Freaking 9:45. Where have you been?
I've been dealing with my kids, my daughter, you know.
So he got family. So all right, we got a little bit of time, but we're gonna jump back to you because you're talking about family. How did family and working on a cruise ship work for you? How long did you work on a cruise ship?
I'm kind of the same with Monopoli. We both Royal, so I mean, it worked out. I mean, you know, 2 weeks here, a month there. You know, pretty much staying in contact. You know, the internet package for the entire week, entire month kind of gets a little expensive, but that was pretty much it. You know, FaceTime every day, just about. So.
How did the family, because it's a lot of people that may be watching this with family, you know, how did you adjust the family life with the cruise ship life? You know, how did you make that work? And some suggestions for somebody who may be interested at doing that with a family, you know?
I mean, it's a process because everyone has to be on board because you're going to be away. You're going to be out of contacts, you know, out of touch. Similar to this quarantine that we're going through, you know, so it's like you can't really touch anybody for the entire month, you know, and sometimes the biggest thing was I think it was 2017 when Hurricane Irma came through, and you know I was on Oasis at the time, and having to deal with that and the concern of outrunning a hurricane. And the concerns and worry about that. But I think the biggest thing is the communication, the daily FaceTiming, pretty much multiple times a day, texting and so forth is really the biggest thing that keeps me in contact with home. in that aspect. So as long as you have that communication, that open line.
Your head just appeared.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
She's been waiting on it.
The headless version.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what, a lot of people don't understand, especially for, not the fly-ons like some of you all, but like especially Carnival, the DJs may do 3 months, but the rest of the crew is doing 6 to 9 months at a time.
Yeah.
And people, right, and you're like, no, like, and that's a lot of people don't get the sacrifice that a lot of these crew members are making to bring an income to their family. People like, oh man, you guys living the best life. I'm like, yeah, but we missing our spouse at home. Some of us have kids, we on this boat. Yeah, it's a good time, but it's the sacrifices. Be like, oh, it ain't that much sacrifice. Like, all right, go away.
It's a big sacrifice, because there are times that, they were concerned, because when my daughter was first born, it was like, am I going to miss her first steps, by working on this boat, and at the same time, you have to look at it as a job, because even if I was working at another job or at an event, even locally, or even like if I go to Cleveland and have to do a show there, I could still miss out on that first steps and not actually physically being here and experiencing that. So you have that you are dealing with as well too. So
yeah, I can see you. I thought that was tough for me, but with you having kids, there's no way I probably would have been able to experience that with my kids. I'm glad to have an empty nest, and I'm fortunate to the times that I've gone on cruise, especially the 3 and 4 month. I was able to get my wife on with me sometime. A couple of times was through the discounts through the job, and then sometimes we just paid out of pocket. So I can feel you on that.
It's a lot that people don't see. Like, we talking about the upside, because I like to keep stuff positive, but
exactly.
It's a downside. People don't like, oh man, you guys out on the beach and swimming with dolphins and snorkeling and skydiving. Oh, you guys got the best life ever. But it's like, it's the sacrifices that you ain't really making.
Anything has pros and cons for sure.
Yeah.
My first contract, I had just signed a lease with my girlfriend, and I was gone for 4 months, so that definitely put, some challenges on that relationship. But
yeah, no sacrifices like, having kids or wife, but definitely, that's the part that people don't hear or don't see. So there's like everything, pros and cons to everything,
Exactly.
Right. It's a lot, so I don't want to keep everybody on. It's getting late. I'm gonna throw something back to TeCoy, because, the one thing I like about this is the fact that we never would ever see each other unless we're hanging out at the Barracuda in Cozumel with Monopoli. Unless we die, and the stop is go to the Mega, go to the Crew Bar across the street. That's the stop. Or you go to Crew Bar first, and then everybody stumble through the Mega. P, have you ever been to the Mega in Cozumel? It's the Mexican Walmart, as I call it, the Mega. If you can't make it a Walmart shoreside, you go to the Mega in Cozumel. That's why TeCoy laughing. We all know about the Mega, but So TeCoy, you've been in Ohio, which is ironic, because he's an hour and 20 minutes away, and I never met him till we started doing these calls. How has working on the cruise ship helped your career in Columbus? Or has it helped your career?
Well, put it like this: I was already traveling before doing the cruises. I was already going Chicago, doing Dallas on different events, and actually that cruise in 2017, I had an option, either go to Vegas and do Mr. Olympia and do that event, or do the cruise, which I'd already was contracted for. So I had to pass on Mr. Olympia in Vegas. So the whole traveling thing, I was already doing that prior to the cruise. So it was just a different avenue to go down along with that. So I can't necessarily say it helped, but it did. It was just an additional add-on to what I was already doing. So.
And, hey, you know, we was all like, throw that cruise ship on that resume and everybody check it out. So we're about to wrap it up. We don't want to keep everybody on here too long, but you know, we'll start from Monopoly and work our way around. You know, give the next guy a tip about working on a cruise ship. You know, just like if somebody came to you and said, "Hey, man, I want to work on a cruise ship," what would you tell them? You know, what would be the one thing you tell them?
I mean, I don't want to be too boring, but I have to go back to the music thing. Like, you really got to make sure that your library is ready, you know, that you're prepared. Like, you can have the technical aspects of your, you know, like you can be a technical DJ, you can have that down pat, but if you're not musically versatile, you're definitely going to have a hard time, you know. So you got to be, like, whenever I talk to a DJ that's kind of coming on to replace me, that's the biggest thing that I try to prepare them for, is just the music. Because, I mean, the things that work here in New York aren't necessarily the things that work on the cruise ship. The things that work on the cruise ship aren't the same things that work here in New York. So, I mean, you got to just be kind of prepared for everything. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to master every genre of music, but you at least should have an understanding and at least have like a go-to crate, I would say, for every genre of music. You know what I mean? And know how to like effectively get in and out of that so that it makes sense and doesn't like completely throw everybody off.
All right. So Erica, you two are in the same area. You know, what would be something you suggested, especially for a young lady, you know, coming out of college, you know, such as yourself? What would you suggest?
Then I was like, not now.
Well, even now, you know, from then to now, what would be something that you would have suggested at the college Erica versus the career Erica 10 years after the fact? What would be a couple things?
I mean, I always say when you're joining a ship, you got to like people, and you have to know how to have conversations with people, especially from all over the world, you know, and these people become your family. So you can't be like an isolated person. You have to be outgoing, and, you know, we don't want shy people joining the ship. We want, you know, fun, positive people. So, I mean, I was scared to death. So I had to really come out of my shell. And I mean, I'm an outgoing person anyway, but getting on a ship for the first time, yeah, you have to come out of your shell and be, like you said, uncomfortable being uncomfortable. So, yeah.
So
that's
so P, what's a good thing that you suggest to somebody, you know, looking to work on a ship? You know, where you out in California, P? Where you at?
I'm in Texas.
Texas. You in Texas? All right. So you know, so we jumping from the East Coast, New York, Jersey area to Texas. You know, what would you tell someone in Texas that may get stuck on a Miami ship or something, or, you know, what would be something that you suggest to them?
Definitely what Erica was saying, you know, you have to have that positive vibe, that no problem attitude, because, you know, stuff is not going to happen perfectly. You know, like, I've gotten to a ship and went into the cabin, and the cabin was like filthy, you know, like, you know, and you just have to adapt. You have to learn. You have to, there's, you know, if you're not open to learning, open to seeing the glass half full, it might not work out. You know what I'm saying? If you're always like dreading or always being negative about things, or like, oh, you know, why does this happen to me? Like, it's not going to work out. You know, you have to really be positive and have that no problem attitude, because stuff is not going to, you know, play out like you maybe planned. Really just have that positive attitude. If you love to travel, love people, it's going to be a perfect, you know, life experience. You know, like, some of the things, the stories and the connections we've made, you know, like, is priceless, right? But if you're not in that mental space, it's probably not going to work out for you, you know? So you have to love to travel. You have to love people. You have to have a positive outlook on life. And of course, you have to have your music, you know, as a DJ, you have to be ready, you know, and adapt, because you're going to get those crazy requests and whatnot, you know, and it's like this people like, you play the same thing every night. I'm like, well, I know you're gonna request the same thing every night, you know.
Dude,
So
we get that on a 7-day. People like, oh, you play the same? Like, yeah, but I know when you come in the club, like it was, I felt like Miss Cleo. Like I knew the future. I knew when this person come in, this is the 5 songs they want to hear tonight. Like,
dude, I would tag the songs with their names. You know what I'm saying? So I could pull it up real quick, like. And dude, yeah, the 2-week contracts or the 2-week cruisers was the worst. You know what I'm saying? Like, get out of here. I'm counting down the days so I can see some new faces. Like,
yeah, I did a couple of those, the Journey cruises, 2 weeks on board with the same people.
That's why I love having more than one DJ, you know, because like I'm gonna play, you know, you could have the same library, but the DJs are going to play different things, you know? So that's why I feel like it's key to have different DJs and have guest DJs to like just feed off of each other, you know? Some stuff like I would have never thought to play. And then I'm like, oh, dang, that's awesome. He played it like that, you know? So it's great having other DJs, guest DJs on board.
You had a cruise director show up like Monopoli and headline. I'll be laughing about that all night. All right, creativity.
Did you ever hear about that?
TeCoy, he missed that one.
Yeah, I heard. I know what he's talking about. Yeah, because I saw the decks in Studio B. Yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Oh, he already know already. All right, creativity. What would be something you suggest? I mean, old school DJ, new school technology, changing stuff up. And I mean, creativity, me and him, we talk all the time. This man got more jobs than me. So what be something?
Now, I think the main thing that I would say to is like I said before, just know the demographics of the ship. We have, I don't know about the other cruise companies, but Carnival, they did good with having itineraries for us, even the voyage reports we had to go through and fill out. Knowing the type of guest that's gonna come on your ship each and every week is a big help. Also, you have to, when it all comes down to it, a lot of people say that, you know, they're open format DJs nowadays. Some people say hip hop or R&B, but most of the time now it seems like a going thing where I hear open format. Just because you're an open format DJ does not mean, you know, what you do in one state is going to work in another state. Just because you're open format, you have to dive deeper than that and do your homework to be able to play not the right songs. And also, to spin off what Monopoli said, you got to also have go-to crates. And what I meant, my version of go-to crates, what has always helped me even before Carnival, is when you have a diverse crowd in age range, not just particularly nationality, but age range, you got to be able to play some of the familiar songs like the Michael Jacksons and the Prince and Drake, and some things that that young and old can recognize, and be able to play those until later into the night, where you have most of the younger kids. Oh, you killing me. Can you play something when I was born? You got, you know, most of the younger people are going to be able to deal with that. But the ones that paid for their cruise is most likely their parents. So you got to get them out the way first.
Exactly. Yeah.
So people like me or yeah.
Paid for the cruise.
Exactly. So those
weddings too. I do the same thing for weddings.
Yeah, those are going to be the ones you got to get them out of the way first, you know, and sooner or later, the majority of them, they will leave early. So you have to be able to, have to be able to read the crowd. So whatever worked for you in the nightclub or on the radio or at your house party or even a wedding, you got to, sometimes you have to be prepared to throw those out the window and learn, The ship, being on the ship is a total different entity, and you just got to not just dream about doing it. You got to be able to fall into it with an open mind and learn everything in and out. So that's pretty much what I would say. And if you're working like Carnival versus doing a fly-in, if you're actually working, it's just like any other job. But if you love what you do, it really would help you get through those days.
But if you can survive a cruise ship, you can do anything.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That part right there.
Really can,
I think a lot of people don't realize that, even I'm in a college town. We don't have no major clubs. We work bars, but it's a college town. So we got a diverse group of students coming in, every year, and you get an influx of a certain, group from certain part of the world. And people like, how are you playing this? You know what I'm saying? We had a group from Africa, and I was playing a bunch of Afro beats. And they like, how you know this? Like, oh man, I've been playing this for like a year now on a cruise ship. So I'm in this college town, and I'm up there playing, some Afro beats, and I'm mixing in with the current stuff and new stuff. And then there's like this random song come on, and you hear the Africans jump up like, everybody like, what the hell is this? But they come on the floor and they like, man, I didn't know you know this. How you know this? How you know this? I tell a story. I did a Bollywood wedding, and just coming from the ships, I knew the music because the staff on board. And now, in the wintertime, it's a lot of Indian guests cruising, in the winter season. So now I'm like working on my Bollywood music if I know I'm gonna be on the ship around November, December, because I know that the club is gonna be, we're gonna have a lot of Indians on board, and they're gonna want to dance. So
let's not forget Punjabi. That's another Punjabi.
Yeah,
man. That's more of the hip hop side of of that music. So,
but whoever thought all of us on here that you be talking about this, like, oh yeah, man, I'm in New York playing East Coast, and now I'm sitting here playing Brazilian music. Then I'm throwing some Afro beats, and I'm throwing some reggae and some cumbia, some soca. TeCoy is like me. We're in Ohio. We're in the Midwest. I'm in the southern part of Ohio, so I'm throwing country down. I'm doing weddings, and the playlist is predominantly
pays for me.
And then I go to cruise ship is nothing but Latin. So I jump around. So TeCoy, you got a lot of experience, man, from doing stuff in Vegas and across. What would be something that you would tell somebody looking to do this kind of traveling gig? Because what you plan in Ohio may not fly in Vegas, may not fly in Texas, may not fly in New York. What would be something that you would suggest for somebody looking to traveling?
In addition to what all you guys have added on, I would co-sign everything. But in addition to that, I would just say be prepared for anything, because the biggest thing I've found is schedule changes last minute. That is something you just want to be prepared for, because all of a sudden you may be planning, that you're going to have the promenade, and then you're going to do the club, and then you may do a pool set, but then all of a sudden you got to do a birthday party that's coming up that was last minute. The DJ got sick, and now you got to fill in for a last minute birthday party that you got to do that you had no idea was on your schedule, or a wedding. And so you just have to be prepared to just jump in and do those events, that may come up, and like Molly said, just those go-to crates that just got to have them ready and just jump right in. That's the biggest thing. Just be prepared for schedule changes, anything that may come up, because it will.
And we used to have 6 weddings a week when I was on the Texas ship, on the Magic out of Texas. 6 weddings. So I'm programming 3 of the computers, one for me for Embark, and the others for the host on board to go do weddings. Can you imagine having 3 to 6 weddings going on at the same time on embarkation day? I'm sitting there doing, embarkation. I'm just watching one bride come on, then another bride come on, and then another bride come on. Like, how many weddings is going on today? I only programmed 2 other computers, and people bring their own stuff on. But, it's just people don't understand that. But look, it's getting late. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your night. This is all free knowledge. People are always interested in what we're doing. A lot of people talking about weddings, but there's only so many of us out there doing cruise ships. A lot of people don't understand. how many other DJs do you all know that's worked on cruise ships? You know, I mean, you got 5,000 DJs. Everybody named mama got a controller and a MacBook and they DJing, you know. They're like, oh yeah, man, I got a controller for Father's Day. I'm about to go out and DJ. and then my mom, I got a controller for Mother's Day. I'm about to go take your wedding. You know, I'm gonna do it for $50. So, you know, but you know, I really appreciate it. I put everyone's social media link in the comments. They're also in the actual description of the videos. If you guys want to do this again, reach out to me. We're going to try to get Rob on next week from Traveling DJs. Positive P have been pushing that. I don't know if you guys know Rob, but Rob has reached out to me. So me and him going to try to do some Traveling DJs and, of course, you know, get you guys back on. But thank you again for everybody tuning in. You got anything, any last words, anybody? Anything you want to say?
I shared this on Traveling DJs and I followed everybody on IG.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome meeting
let's
y'all.
Follow each other. That was my word. Let's follow each other and just network.
Yep.
You never know.
What you say, Erica?
No, I wouldn't have met any of you guys without you doing this. So thank you.
Well, I'm working on getting an all-female conversation on here. So
That's what's up.
reaching out to all. So if you guys know any other females that's worked on the ship, send them my way. Got a few on board already, but let's get the female perspective, because the female perspective is gonna be way different than the guy perspective, especially when it comes down to roommates, if you ever have to share a room.
That could be a whole episode.
Yeah, like the royal guys getting an exclusive room, you know what I'm saying? We got roommates and you know, it happens. But hey, once again, thank you all. TeCoy, we definitely got to connect when all this slow down, and you know, definitely before wedding season, if we have a wedding season. So
if you guys can date, you know, you can get
all right, big shout. Congratulations, Monopoly, on the Knicks gig. So I'm gonna start watching some basketball games and be criticizing the music, you know. Man, that guy, I can't believe this guy.
I'll send him a music request. I'll text him. See if he'll answer.
in the middle of the game. All right. All right, we're gonna end it. Once again, thank you everybody. Peace out.
All right, good night, guys.
Later, guys.
All right.
Hey, guys.
Bye.